Hey folks, Dustin DePirac, Indiana beat writer, and Andy Graham, Indiana columnist, here in the Horseshoe, Ohio Stadium, where about 105,000 people watched Indiana get pounded today, 38-10. It was never close. It was 38-0 before second stringer started coming out and that sort of thing, and then Indiana got a couple points, but.
It's a beautiful day for a bloodletting here on the banks of the Olentangy, though.
That it was. But anyway, just to start, Andy, what went wrong today?
Oh, you name it. I think that Indiana came out and rather curiously ran the ball on 5 out of 6 first down plays in the first quarter. And against that defensive front with a makeshift offensive line operating for IU, I don't think that was a recipe for success. And then when Ben Chappell did throw, very rarely did they try and stretch Ohio State deep. Don't know if they could have, but they never tried, to speak of. Probably the longest pass Chappell threw all day was his
interception
that set up the second Ohio State touchdown. So, and that looked like, it looked like the cornerback was the intended receiver. Because,
it wasn't close.
Because Belcher cut the route off.
Cut the route in, I think.
That was just or whatever. It was just a miscommunication there, which is going to happen. But Indiana never showed any sign whatsoever of being even remotely in this game.
No, there was. I mean, there's always a massive talent, gap, chasm, canyon, and whatever else you want to, call separation here, gorge, everything. It's and that's usually the case. I mean, Ohio State is loaded from top to bottom. They always, get these guys. I mean, really, the way Indiana recruits, I mean, they go into Ohio to try to get everybody that Ohio State won't take. In a lot of ways. I mean, that's part of it, or doesn't find fast enough, or is waiting on, or whatever. And you could tell. I mean, the speed, the size, the everything. I mean, Ohio State had it, and it didn't help the Indiana cause at all that they had some major personnel losses going into today. James Brewer, I think, obviously was the biggest one. Their senior right tackle, 6'8", 331-pounder, who had an ankle injury earlier this week.
And or Darius Willis.
Well, just as big. I mean, I think Brewer might be bigger because Brewer has blocked really well, and they've mostly kept Chappell clean the first couple games. Obviously, they haven't seen a defense like this one, but against a really good front four without Brewer, they didn't really have a chance. And it got worse throughout the day. I mean, I found out right before the game Mark Damish didn't make the trip because his father passed away. And then a couple other injuries happened. Andrew McDonald went down. Will Maddie went down. I think Jordan Marquette, who ended up having to start at right guard today, then had to move to center. They had to pull Pat McShane out, had to play. Justin McGon was playing right tackle. So basically it was a makeshift offensive line the day when they least could have afforded to have a makeshift offensive line.
And this might be the best front seven defensively in the country. And if
it's
not,
really
it's
good.
right up
It's
there.
up there. It's
so
up there.
It was just not, it was going to be one of those days. It was going to be a tough day at the office for Indiana on Saturday, no matter what. And the players, Coach Lynch, nobody used the injuries as any sort of excuse after the game. They didn't really want to address it.
No, and to be honest, I mean, we kind of handed it to him. I mean, I kind of, in a way, just said, hey, look, you didn't have an offensive line today. How much did that hurt?
And there's no question that they were impaired in that sense, but it really just wasn't going to matter a whole heck of a lot. I mean, if Indiana is at full strength and healthy. Maybe they've got a little bit more of a running game.
Maybe they score a touchdown in the first half.
Keep them honest. Yeah, maybe they score a touchdown in the first half. But once again, I mean, there was such, there was nothing adventuresome in the play call. I mean, Illinois, which played Ohio State, gave them a scare actually a week before,
and then beat Penn
had
State today.
A heck of a win today. So obviously Illinois is probably the league's most improved team. But Illinois was playing, throwing reverse passes and, really sort of emptying the playbook against Ohio State. And they were sending a lot of people on defense, too. So Indiana chose a much more, close to the sweater vest
I mean, they did. I mean, I think there were a couple things to it. I mean, for one thing, when it came to defensively, I think they got discouraged from bringing people because, I mean, I saw at least one, blitz early where they brought Thomas and Replogo up the middle, and that just got stuffed. I mean, they didn't have any pressure, and then Pryor just sat back, found Sossenbacher for a big gain.
Yeah, and one of the few positive things for Indiana today is that they were actually able to create some pressure with their front four. and
Some. Yeah.
and so they didn't have to blitz. And I think something you noted earlier too is that
Mm.
by utilizing the 3-4 look, there were times when Ohio State looked a little bit confused up front.
A little
And
bit. They called some
Indiana guys
timeouts.
would
Yeah.
come clean
Mm.
at times. I mean,
Mm.
Ohio State had 0 sacks today. Indiana had 3.
3.
Indiana
Mm.
had 1 more tackle for loss, 8 as opposed to 7. So
Right.
Indiana had some moments on the front line, but
Mm.
what Ohio State had
Yeah.
was consistent pressure.
Sure.
Indiana would
Mm.
have moments, and
Mm.
they would get a hold of Terrell Pryor, who's not easy to get a hold of.
No,
they
not at all.
actually tackled him a few
Yeah.
times.
Mm.
But Ohio State had consistent pressure.
Sure.
And Chappell had
Mm.
to deal with that all day.
Yeah, no, Chappell never really. He never was sacked, but I mean, he never really seemed comfortable at all. Obviously, Chappell's probably greatest strength is he's able to read that third, fourth, fifth progression,
Right.
and you never saw that today. I mean, he was trying to get rid of it quick to make sure he didn't take a sack, and that's why he threw some of the interceptions and just threw some passes that seemed ill-advised. I mean, it's amazing how much less in control he seemed this week than he has the first couple games.
He
I mean, the
really
last
seemed
first
out of
couple games,
sorts.
he really was able to do
Yeah.
more or less whatever he wanted to do, and today he really couldn't do anything he wanted to do.
Well, and giving all due credit to Ohio State for that,
Mhm.
I also think Indiana contributed to that.
Sure,
I also think
sure.
Ben contributed to that.
Mhm,
I mean, I think
yeah.
sometimes he threw much earlier than he needed to.
Mhm.
I think sometimes he had time
Yeah.
to go through progressions and didn't.
Mhm.
He just didn't have a good day, and it's been a very long time since
you've
we've
seen
been
that.
able to say that.
Yeah, and nope, none of the receivers had a particularly good day. Really, everything that was Indiana's strength was kind of its weakness today, and even its weaknesses were still its weaknesses.
Yeah. Well,
they got
defensively, the secondary still remains in total disarray almost.
Mhm.
I mean, it just
Yeah.
isn't a functional secondary at this point.
Mhm.
And frankly, until and unless that happens,
Yeah.
Indiana's not going to be real competitive in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I don't know when it would happen. It's still the one thing to say is it's still hard to tell exactly where this team is going to fit because they have yet to play a team that's on their level. Michigan was really good offensively and obviously was pretty bad defensively, but had an offense that was way too powerful, I think, for Ohio State for Indiana to stop. Obviously, Ohio State was well past their class. It'll be interesting to see when they play somebody who is in their class. I mean, obviously, the 3 non-conference teams were out of their class. Were not in their class.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see when they play the Northwesterns of the world, the Illinois of the world, Purdue. Those kind of games. So you
Right.
actually see,
Right.
how bad it is, how good it is. To get a real understanding of what's
And-
what with this team.
And maybe it's just, I don't know whether this is an accurate observation or not,
Mhm.
but I see Indiana's defensive front getting a little stouter. I see
A little.
more running plays being met forcefully at the
Mhm.
line. Right now, it's kind of feast or
Yeah.
famine. I mean,
Mhm.
either they stuff a play
Or they
give
it
up a
gets
big
busted.
play.
Yeah.
Right, but if
the
they-
Daniel
if-
Herron touchdown today,
that's
the
right.
39-yarder. I mean,
That's right.
other than that, they pretty much kept the run
And so
together.
if they can get a little more consistent, and once again,
Mm.
you're dealing with a lot of guys who became starters this year, and then
Mm.
maybe they're still settling in and whatnot.
Right.
So I see some potential in the front seven defensively.
Mm,
I'm not
some.
sure.
They can be-
I'm not sure I see that
Yeah,
in the secondary.
they can be a service. I think they can be a serviceable
serviceable
front
front
seven.
seven, yes.
The secondary, again, like you said,
and
it's been shaky.
And I think the offense even could come up with a serviceable running game at some point potentially.
Yeah, if they
But-
get their linemen back.
But really, it all comes to
Mm.
me. It all comes back to the secondary and the problems there,
Mm.
and the fact that either Pryor had way too much time to throw at times, but more often than not, there were
Mm.
guys open regardless. I mean,
Right.
it was just kind of. So I don't know how soon that's going to change, or if it's going to change, but it has to change if
Mm.
Indiana's going to be able to be competitive.
Mm.
Fortunately, they have Arkansas State next week, which could be a trap game, of course.
Yeah.
But at least
Mm.
it's somebody that they could come in and hopefully improve.
Kinda get
this
it back
week,
together.
and maybe start
Mm.
feeling good about some things again. And it's almost like a 2-week period where they can really work to improve. And
Right.
then they have to go to Illinois, which is probably the most improved team in the league. And
So far. Maybe Michigan State, though, too.
And Michigan State's awfully good too.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
but they were already pretty good last year. So.
Right. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how they're going to recover after this and what happens again when they start to play, get the rest of those teams in that league.
In fairness, this team, I know this
Mm.
team bounced back well last year.
It did.
They laid
It
a
did.
total egg in Virginia,
Mm.
for example, and then came
Yeah.
back. We'll see if they can do it again now.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Follow us throughout the rest of the week. We appreciate it. Have a good one.